we are here to assist you. Please reach out. Any questions that you have, you can contact me by clicking the link on virtual. It comes right directly to me. If you have any questions, you want more information, I'm here to answer any questions.
Well, we certainly do appreciate it. Thank you again, Stephanie and Pam, to talk about and highlight some of the employment and training programs that are available to our service members. Again, we'll post the links in the description and invite you to check out the OBTT website, as well as many of the other links that are there on the Veterans Employment and Training Service website through the Department of Labor. Certainly wonderful and invaluable programs. I want to thank you both for taking time out of your day to be with us, and wish you a wonderful afternoon and evening, or wherever it is you are.
Oh, thank you, Daniel and Johnny, for having us.
Yes, thank you so much.
It's our pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a motivated Wednesday.
Yes. Happy hump day.
All right. Well, welcome to our next episode of TAA Cafe. And just as a reminder, this podcast is brought to you by the Reserve Component Transition Assistance Program, with Reserve Component Transition Assistance Advisors, or RCTAAs, covering every state and territory. RCTAAs are there to provide service members and veterans with information and assistance with accessing their benefits and entitlements earned through their military service. My name is Daniel Leatherman. I'm the RCTAA from Hawaii, and I am joined by Johnny Klein, the RCTAA from Missouri. And this podcast is part of our podcast series on employment and employment resources. And today we are joined by Stephanie Martin, the Employment Resource Coordinator, a training and development specialist and distance learning educator for the OBTT program. We'll say a lot more about that as our episode continues. But also joining us is Pam Langley, who is the TAP operations lead at the Veterans Employment and Training Program, or VETS, or Veterans Employment and Training Service, actually, at the U.S. Department of Labor. So welcome both Stephanie and Pam. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
So we'll just jump right in here. Stephanie, we wanted to highlight your OBTT program. So tell us a little bit about what is OBTT and what does your program offer?
All right. So OBTT stands for Off-Base Transition Training. So it is the transition training for veterans. Everyone knows that when you go through the transition piece, when you're leaving the military, it can be very overwhelming. So sometimes it's missed. Reservists, National Guard don't always get that piece. And so what we've done is we've taken the transition training and we've broke it down into 10 digestible pieces. And those are put into 2-hour workshops. You can pick and choose as you need. It is for the veteran, reservists, National Guard, spouses, pretty much anybody who needs it. Those 10 workshops go from A to Z on the spectrum of enhancing your career. So where are you at in that job search? You may just be starting out. And so we have a workshop for that. Maybe you don't know what you want to do. That's my next move. You don't know how to speak about yourself and how to market your information that you have to give to that company, marketing yourself. Then we have resume pieces. We have federal job piece, LinkedIn learning, which is so large. We do 2 workshops on that. Interviewing, salary negotiation, and we also talk about employment rights because that is so important to the veterans and the service members and even civilians. They know very little about that piece of being an employee. And we just added 2 1-hour workshops that are geared towards job fairs. A lot of people do not know how to go to a job fair and speak about themselves, how to speak to companies, what should they be doing to plan for that job fair. And so we have 2 1-hour workshops to help you prepare for job fairs now. So you see that these workshops really touch on everything that you need to enhance your career. So no matter where you're at in that process, no matter what branch of service you're in, no matter what component you're in, we are here for you.
That's great. That's great. Um, say a little bit more about that. So I've been in a transition process, having retired from the military in 2022, and as part of my job, I've also, as a RCTAA, I've also been to job fairs just to kind of check it out, see what's available, get some information, to help service members and so on and so forth. What might be, give us a little insight into what that class is like, and what what might be involved in how people can be better at going to a job fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first 1-hour workshop is networking and professional introductions, because sometimes you may be going to a career fair, and that is basically to network and expand your network to find that next career. Who should you be speaking to? How do you find that person that you want to speak to? And how that network is important to you. So we talk a lot about building your network and why that's important and who can be in your network. A lot of people discount the fact that your network could be, at your command and talking to people who are in your unit, or it could be at the local grocery store, or at your local gym, or at church. Any type of event that you go to, you can find somebody to put into your network. You may talk about what your job is, what you want to do next, and then somebody that you speak to at this event, hey, I have a friend and they're hiring and they work for this company. And that's networking. And then we talk about professional introductions. When you go to the job fair or the career fair, how do you introduce yourself? That makes them interested in what you have to offer. And it's very important to have for that professional introduction. And that professional introduction is unique for every person that you speak to. You don't have one introduction and use it on every company, because not every company has the same position that they're offering. So we talk a lot about networking, how to be comfortable with presenting yourself at a job fair, and how to use that professional introduction to really draw people in and make them want to speak to you and take your resume. Then our other 1-hour workshop is job fair strategies and on-the-spot interviews. Many people who go to job fairs, they're not prepared to be interviewed. It does happen. So they are thinking they're just going there to find out about jobs that the company may have available. But sometimes if you have that, professional introduction down just right, your resume is put together correctly, they may want to interview right on the spot. So we talk about being ready for that and what are some of the key questions that are asked on that on the spot interview. And then having a strategy. When you go to the job fair, do you know who you want to speak to? What companies are going to be there? Where are their booths going to be at? Having a strategy to hit those booths. The booths closest to the door are going to be busy as soon as you walk in, because people will go to them first. So maybe if you want to talk to a company that's across the room, you start there first and you work your way back around. Job fairs, if they're large ones, can be extremely busy. So you want to have a plan of attack. You want to make sure that you have all of your resumes on hand. You may make a little QR code for a business card. Being able to use your LinkedIn profile. There is a QR code in there to share. So little things like this that people don't always think about when they're going to a job fair. You have to put yourself in the same state of mind that you would going to an interview, because that may take place. So we really focus on how to be efficient at going to a job fair, a career fair, and making the most of your time so that you're not just going to a million job fairs and you're getting nothing out of it.
Oh, incredible. Thank you. Yeah. Go ahead, Johnny. Were you gonna chime
Yeah,
in?
yeah. I just want to kind of piggyback off Stephanie. She mentioned, you know, when veterans and family members go to job fairs, you don't want one resume to kind of encompass every job. Um, so can you kind of elaborate on that? I have a two-part question. How important is it to have two different resumes or even more resumes? And then also um, preparing for the interview. If on the spot interview, the number one question that's asked is, "Tell me about yourself." That's the hardest question. It should be the easiest question, but I think it's the hardest question that you know. I think a lot of people can go down rabbit holes and get themselves out of a job when they say, "Tell me about yourself." But how important it is to focus on that question, because every employer is going to say, "Tell me about yourself." How do we approach that one?
Yes, absolutely. So, step one, before you even think about that, when you go to a job fair, what companies are going to be there that you want to speak to? Do your research into that company. What is the problem that they have? What job are they trying to fill? Which one are you interested in? And all of that being said, every company is not going to have the same problem, the same job they're going to fill. So what does that mean? You want to speak to 4 companies at that job fair, you need to have 4 resumes. You need to have 4 professional introductions, and you need to have 4 different tell me a little bit about yourself, because those companies are looking for different things. All of those things, resume, professional introduction, tell me a little bit about yourself, have to have different things in them. You're not writing the resume to one company, you're writing it to 4 different companies. Those 4 companies don't all have the same job posting. They're not all looking for the same skills. They don't want to know what problems that you can solve. They don't all have the same problems. So you have to think about that. Then when you get to the tell me a little bit about yourself, they don't want to know what you do on the weekends, what you like to do with your children or your dog. They want to know what you can do for them. So the tell me a little bit about yourself is all geared towards tell me what skills you have and how you're going to use those skills to make our company better or to solve our issues. So you have to think of it in that aspect. Don't think of it as, oh, they want to get to know me. Yes, they want to get to know you, but they want to know why they should hire you. They can get to know your personality later. Right now, they want to know what your personality background is pertaining to the skills that they need you to bring to the job. So when you're talking about tell me a little bit about yourself, it's really expanding on your professional introduction. Who are you? What can you bring to the company? What is your background, your skills? Tell them a little bit about how you've made another company great, or how you've made your command great, or your unit great. And then when can we meet and talk further about this? Because generally that on the spot interview may only be 2 or 3 questions for them to get a gauge of, are you really what your resume says you are?
Yeah, and that's when I helped a lot of individuals get jobs, find jobs. It was the same thing. It was, tell me about yourself is the hardest question, because a lot of individuals will talk about, I have 6 kids or 2 kids, and I have a dog, and I was born in here, and at the end of the day, employers not to it's not important to the position that they're hiring for.
No, it
So
isn't.
they don't want to hear that stuff. So it's just how you can make the company better and how you be the best employee that, because there's multiple applicants that are hiring for the same position that you're hiring for.
That's right. One of the best things to bring into, well, both when you're speaking to the company, your professional introduction, and that tell me a little bit about yourself, is that you've done your research into the company and you know, like, what are the words they live by? What is their motto? Almost every company has one. If you can spin that in as you're speaking to them, they love that, because now they know you've taken the time to do the research into their company. You know a little bit about their background and what their needs are.
And you had mentioned the resume as being kind of a key part of that, right? And it's in some ways resume is sort of consolidating a career's worth of work, or especially if we've been in the military, or whether we've just sort of joined and we're 18, 19, 20, and we might be looking for a new position, or whether we're in our 40s and 50s after a 20 plus year career in the military. Can you say a little bit about the role of the resume, and um, and of course highlight the OBTT program and how it can help translate some of those military skills into kind of a practical resume, and what the program involves. I mean, in terms of how it can help you if you've never had to write a resume, or if it's been ages since you've written a resume. um, you got to get back into it. So
Right.
say a little bit about that, Stephanie.
And that
Thank
can
you.
be so hard, right?
Right.
So it really starts in all of our workshops. Let's say that you haven't written a resume, you're not really sure about how you'll translate your skills or what you even want to do. How does what I learned in the military translate to a civilian career? We start with my next move. In my next move, we do a lot of assessments. And in those assessments, we see what is it that we like to do. First off, what is it that we like to do? Not that we have the skills to do, what is it that we want to do? Then we throw in the skills aspect. What are the skills that we have? And then we start cross-pollinating all of that. What are some careers that would fall into what I like to do? And then throw in the skills part. What are some careers that fall into this with what I like to do, and now the skills?
Mm-hmm.
And then once they start seeing some of the job posting, we use ONET a lot. ONET does a lot of crosswalk between what they did in the military and careers. And then it also teaches them how to translate the skills that they have. And we use that, and we show them how to use those websites, how to use the translation tools, looking up what they did in the military. If they want to cross right into something in the same career focus, we show them how to look that up. And so using that ONET tool, it helps them to build their resume. So that's step one. And then marketing yourself. We talk about ONET again and how to use some of those job postings to talk about yourself. A lot of people don't realize, they'll say, well, I was just a mechanic in the military and now I want to be a nurse. So I don't have any skills to talk about. You do. There's transferable skills,
Mm-hmm.
organizational skills, being able to work in groups. That all of these are skills that employers are looking for. So we're teaching them how to look at these job postings and say, oh, I do have that skill. I've used that before. I've done that before. You may be using a different piece of equipment. They just, in the civilian sector, you call it something else, right? So we teach them that, and then go into resume building. We have one resume workshop to teach you all about resumes, because as we've already mentioned, you need a different resume for each employer. You also may need a different style of resume. So we talk about what are the different styles of resumes and when should you use them. That is the first workshop. Second workshop is putting all the pieces together. Now we've shown you where to go to translate your skills. We give you some really great websites. We have a whole resource guide that has great websites in there for you to use. So in the resume writing workshop, now we break down what are the pieces of the resume and how do I put them all together. If you don't have a resume, you may not come out of that workshop with a resume. But here's the great part. You can take these workshops as many times as you want. So you may get started on your resume and then come back to the workshop. Okay, I've started these pieces. Let's go through them again.
Mm-hmm.
Then when we go to LinkedIn, we show them how to use tools on LinkedIn to translate their skills. You can use the job search tool in the resume building to assist in putting your skills into play into any job that you choose. It will tell you, here's some skills that we found in your profile. Here's people who are looking for those skills. So we teach you how to use that in the LinkedIn job search. You don't have a LinkedIn yet? We have LinkedIn profiles, so we help you set that up and how to translate your skills, the tools to use on LinkedIn to do that. Then by the time you get to interviewing and salary negotiation, you already got it in the bag. You know how to translate your skills, how to talk to that company. So then we talk about how to answer questions properly with the STAR method, that situation, task, action, and result, and being able to quantify it. Everybody is like, well, didn't do that anything that great in the military. So how do I show them? You've done something that was great. You either put a system into play, you worked on a team that made a process work, but a lot of people discount that and they don't think back on that. All they think is grandeur, right? They're like, I have to come up with something really great. I saved $1 million, or, I saved man hours. But sometimes it can be simple as making a process work better. So we teach them how to look at what they've done in the past and really put that into those STAR statements and make an impact for a company.
That's amazing.
Salary negotiation is probably my best, because the thing, military members transitioning, they really don't think that negotiation is a thing. And so when you teach them all the things they can negotiate, things that they should look at, the benefits, the time off, it's really like when they have that aha moment, it's like, yes, I love it. And then by the end of the workshop, we talk about a scenario where we have a transitioning service member who has a job offer. It's below, they have the benefits list, and then they really have to put into play everything that they've learned in the workshop, and it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. What an invaluable skill,
Right?
to be able to do that. Yeah.
While we're talking about resumes, how important, because there's a lot of job leads, it's 2023, everybody's plugged into their phone, to their computer, and they see job description, they're looking at certain jobs. What do I want to be when I grow up? They don't know what they want to do. If they find something that interests their needs, how important is it to generate their resume to the keywords that are in that resume, as far as like a job description? If a company is hiring for somebody that has X amount of sales experience, having those keywords, because is it computers that kind of, how often is it computers kind of filter out resumes that don't have keywords versus humans that are actually looking at resumes and filtering out those the qualified applicants, if you will?
Right.
How important is that?
It really depends on the size of the company. If they're using a headhunter, if it's a larger company and they're doing headhunting, that doesn't necessarily go through an ATS. Those people are looking for that individual. Once they find them, they're really looking at the resume. Smaller companies, they may not be using an ATS because they can look at all the resumes. But if it is a highly sought after position that you see posted on Indeed or LinkedIn, Monster, and you click on that apply now, that's going through an ATS.
What is the ATS, if you don't mind?
An automatic tracking system. And so what it tracks is the keywords. There's lots of sites out there, Skyscan, that's the one in our book. I can't think of the other one now. JobScan, I think. We talk about it in our workshop. It will scan your resume and it will scan the job posting. And it will tell you how likely you are to get through the ATS. It scores you. And then it goes another step. It tells you, here's the hard skills they're looking for. Here's the soft skills that they're looking for. Here's how many key skills, here's the education, and it tells you which ones you're lacking, so that you have the opportunity, if you have those skills, to go back and fix your resume to assist you to get through the ATS. Now, like I mentioned, some companies do just use the ATS. to store resumes. They're coming into that automatic tracking system, but an actual HR professional is getting them out of there and they're reviewing all of them. But I have had people that I've referred to positions who I knew were qualified, they had the skills, they didn't get called, and they called me back, and then I had to call, my contact and like, I have this individual, I know they're perfect for this, and then they had to go look for the resume. So it is pretty important to hit those keywords. They say that you should be at about a 70%. You should use the terminology. So a perfect example is if you have an MBA, but the job posting writes the whole thing out, Masters of Business Administration. Don't use MBA because they're not looking for that. They're looking for exactly what they put in that job posting. So just little things like that can make a difference.
Right. Are you seeing, or I mean, what's the word out there about, because AI, artificial intelligence, and Chat GPT, and these sort of artificial intelligence engines are very much kind of in the news. What are you hearing anything about AI generated resumes, or
Yes.
how AI is being incorporated into this job search process or
Yes.
applicant process, that kind of thing?
Very much so. We were just this week, we're talking about it in one of our workshops because a facilitator was talking about her son who is in college, was trying to apply for an internship, and somebody told him about the GB bot. And that website will write you a cover letter to the company that you're applying to. So you basically copy and paste in the job posting, and then it will give you a cover letter. So I'm sure that we're getting to the point where resumes are going to be generated from the same thing, which is going to be kind of hard. I can't say we're not equaling the playing field. It's probably going to make it worse. Because if you can generate the perfect resume, everybody will have the perfect resume, right?
Well, I could imagine a scenario where the generated resume optimizes the search engine used by the ATS, right? So
Yes.
you actually have computer talking to a computer, and those of us that I would say old school that are slaving away over our keyboards trying to create a quality resume are seemingly at a disadvantage, or I don't know how that, like you said, I don't know how that playing field gets leveled, but that's a whole different podcast.
I know, right?
Probably, right?
It is getting very interesting. I haven't seen a lot of chatting going on about the resume piece, but I definitely have seen some chatting going on about, making very targeted cover letters that will get you noticed, because a lot of people discount the cover letter. That is the first thing that they read. If they're requiring a cover letter, they may not even look at your resume until they've read the cover letter. So be mindful of that
Right.
the cover letter is just as important as that resume piece.
For sure. I want to come back to your OBTT programs. I want to bring up the OBTT webpage with the workshops and stuff, and we'll do that in a moment. But I want to give Pam an opportunity to jump in here because she's been so patient and so wonderful. So Pam, who's with the Veterans Employment and Training Service, or VETS as they're called, with the U.S. Department of Labor. Pam, tell us a little bit about the VETS program and the sort of, well, it's not just one program, right? It has several attached to it, of which this is one. So Pam, welcome and thanks. Tell us a little bit about your division that you have.
Sure. I'm so happy to be here. And Stephanie has just done such a wonderful job that there was nothing I could add. There's nothing I could do about that. So that's wonderful. But we do have quite a few programs. And of course, our title says it all. It's a Veterans Employment and Training. That's what we do. Veterans, National Guard reservists, military spouses, transitioning service members. that's really who we target as far as all of our programs. We have federal employees nationwide, at least one in every state, who kind of is like the belly button in that state for all things veteran employment and training related. So they work with the American Job Centers or the workforce system, as it's called. It used to be called unemployment insurance, but now it's really propelled itself to be the workforce system. There's one in every state. So we have a state director who kind of leads those. They work with the Veterans Affairs Division, the Veterans Affairs Agency, VA, and for with their programs, such as voc rehab and employment, and they have homeless programs. We also have homeless veteran reintegration grants. And so there's so many things out there. I think it's difficult for service members who are transitioning and also for veterans to, push through all of the fodder that's there to get to the really good tools. And that's what our agency tries to do with things like off-base transition training or transition employment assistance for military spouses.
That's terrific. Now, most of us encounter the Veterans Employment and Training Service usually through TAP, right? The Transition Assistance Program.
Yes.
Most of our service members would encounter TAP whether when they are typically separating or retiring from the military. But your programs are actually also available to active Guard and Reserve as well. Is that correct?
That is correct. Everything that we do is really geared toward a military service member. Like we spent quite a while talking about resumes, right? And all the different tweaks that you might need to do to a resume to make it presentable to a certain type of employer. Well, all of those things have a different view depending on where you come from in the military. Air Force Reserve, what you did is going to be different than what someone did in the Army Reserve. And so everything that we do, we try to tailor to those individual needs. So while we have these programs that are, they appear to be wide spanning. We talk about resumes, we talk about everything. We also talk about tailoring it to your individual need. And so we're really proud of the things that we do. And there's just so many resources out there now that we're happy to be able to kind of pull those together and provide training on how to look for employment. And then also we have a resource guide, which you'll probably see when you pull up the OBTT website. And it is quite large, but it contains all of the resources that have been vetted through the Department of Labor that provide assistance to transitioning service members, military spouses, and veterans at no cost to them.
Wonderful.
In the OBTT website, there's plenty of resources. I think before we leave, I think how important is it to follow up? You submit a resume. I've talked to so many people that they've submitted 30 resumes, 20 resumes, whatever the case is, and then like nobody calls me. I don't hear an email, anything. My recommendation is follow up within 48 hours to the hiring manager or the HR director, whoever it is, and follow up about the resume. Do you have any insight on that?
Well, and that's a great point. Like Stephanie indicated, a cover letter is really a way to get your resume in front of people without just blasting resumes. Whenever I hear from somebody, oh, I sent 20 resumes out or 30 resumes, to me, that's like a red flag, right? Because that means you just blanketed a bunch of resumes. Your resume really needs to be targeted to the job opening specific that you want. For example, let's say you want to work for company X, but you don't know what kind of openings they have. You can't find any advertised, there's you don't have an inroad there. You can call and just ask to speak with someone who, I mean, you do your research on that company, what they do, and then you say, "Oh, I want to work in, production. That's what I've done. I want to work in production." You can call that company and ask for an informational interview with someone who works in production, and a lot of companies will just say, "Oh, we'll connect you with someone." And in an informational interview, it's where you get insight into what type of jobs that
That's
company
right.
is hiring for and those kind of things. So you can target your resume instead of just blanket it.
Yes, and you can build your network. We talk
Mhm.
about that in LinkedIn job searches. Just like Pam was saying, you can call them, you can even go on LinkedIn, look up who has that job that you want to be in, contact that person, do the informational interview that Pam was spoke about, and now you've built your network. If that
Mhm.
company chooses to hire in that position and you've impressed the person you did the interview with, they may recommend you for that position. So you're building your network as well.
Mhm.
Can you,
Exactly.
yeah, can you say a little bit about LinkedIn? Because, I've known about LinkedIn for years. And I've had a profile there for quite some time, but it was relatively inactive, right? I mean, we moved in social media circles from between, MySpace and Facebook and, whatever it might be. But now in this sort of season after, I came to learn a lot more about LinkedIn, as I was going through the transition program in my retirement. How valuable is that? I mean,
Mhm.
sure. I mean, I have a lot of contacts. I mean, many of them are sort of guard connections and things like that, and guard buddies. Is it? Talk to me about LinkedIn. I mean, really.
Right.
Um,
Like, it's well,
No, I mean,
it really is where companies do their recruiting. Um,
okay.
and it's easy to connect to companies through LinkedIn so that you know when they're putting up posts. You can connect to different individuals within that company. But specifically in our LinkedIn job search, we kind of pull back the curtain on how recruiters use LinkedIn to find
Okay.
potential employees. That way, when you take that course, and you learn about how they use it, then you can turn that around and make sure that your profile stands out so that it gets those kind of hits, like you were talking about. Instead of just having a LinkedIn page up there, you want to get those hits from recruiters
Right.
in
Right.
companies that you're interested in.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it's important to have it built correctly. A perfect
Mhm.
example is I am a 30-year military spouse. My husband thought he was going to retire this year. And so he put it out on LinkedIn, looks like I'm going to retire. And people started contacting him nonstop. He had a job within a month, but they were contacting him about positions where we're located right now. So we walked through how important it was for him to update his LinkedIn. Where is it that you want to go? Where are you going after the military? What type of job do you want to be in? Because people were contacting him for all kinds of jobs that he didn't necessarily want. So we sat down one day and we went through his profile, and then he started getting more focused job offers in the
Mm,
areas he wanted to be in. So it is really key to have your LinkedIn built out professionally. and specified to what it is you're doing next, not what you're doing right now.
Yeah, no, it's a great insight. I know on my LinkedIn feed, it often comes up with that generic, like, hi, you know,
Right.
I've seen you're looking for new opportunities. I have, that kind of thing. It's a very generic, very general, it's almost like clickbait, it kind of
Yeah.
feels like,
Yeah.
I got being baited into something there. Stephanie, I'm gonna try and bring up the website here, and this is specifically the off-base transition training program. Tell us a little bit about this website, and I know there's a lot on here. Pam, you had mentioned a booklet or an information booklet,
A resource guide.
resource guide. That's it. Is it up here
Yeah.
in
So
resources?
no, scroll down. It's
Yeah,
a
Okay,
little
down.
tricky to find. Yeah. It's
little tricky to find.
it's
Okay,
work descriptions, workshop
workshop
descriptions. Yeah,
descriptions.
so
Here it
right
is.
there.
Vet's resource guide right there. Okay. But well, take us through the website though. Okay, so we found the resource guide, but take us through the website here. So you offer these classes, these off-base transition training programs are offered both near bases in or on bases, actually on or near bases in these states, but you also offer virtual workshops that you could be anywhere in the world and sign up for it.
Sorry, muted myself. Yes, absolutely. We do have these locations, these states, these 5, and we just added 4 new, Pam?
5 more.
5 new. And
We
she's
can't
probably,
announce them yet, but they will be up soon.
yes.
Okay.
So we are expanding, thank goodness.
Mm-hmm.
But we have California, Massachusetts, North Carolina, and then we have Pennsylvania and Texas. And the workshops, we have the locations within the state, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's only for that area. Like Texas, they go to Abilene, sorry,
Abilene, yeah.
Abilene as well, but that's not on here. So it is really, it's helpful if you want to take a workshop in one of these states to click on any of the locations under the state, and it will take you to their virtual schedule. And then there's a contact us, and that goes directly to the Texas ERC, like myself. And then they can let you know, here's all the workshops that we have available, rather than clicking on every single location to see where the workshop is taking place in those areas. It's easier to reach out to them and see what's going on in their state. So each state has an employment resource coordinator, and they coordinate their workshops in their states, not necessarily just in those areas that are linked on the website. They're expanding in their state and trying to branch out for locations so that we can hit as many people as we have in those states. And then we do virtual, which is my position. I am the virtual employment resource coordinator. And the times for virtual, they fluctuate. We try to keep the times rolling so that we can hit West Coast and East Coast, and maybe soon Hawaii, Pacific out there, we can hit them too. So we try to adjust the times that we can make it convenient for everybody across all 50 states.
Mm-hmm.
All the workshops take place online. So every month we try to cycle through at least each workshop twice. That way, if you can't get in, maybe we're offering marketing yourself at the beginning of the month, but the day and the time doesn't work for you. The next part of the month, it will not be offered on the same day and time. We try rotating them. So if you only have Wednesday open at noon, eventually you'll be able to hit every workshop at Wednesday at noon. So we try to keep moving them so that we can make adjustments for everybody who's out there, whether they're in Central Time, Mountain Time, Pacific, East Coast.
Okay. And then, so
I want to
in,
mention,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
because this confuses everybody, is the times never change on the website though. All times that are posted are on East Coast time. So sometimes you'll see a workshop starts at 2 in the afternoon. That's because we're trying to hit like lunchtime and mountain time. So they're always on East Coast time.
Okay. Hang on just a second. I'm going to, so I clicked on the virtual workshops tab, and then this screen came up.
Yes.
So here's that example, right? You said that this is offered, let's say tomorrow, 7:26, or no, today, this is today, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., and this would be Eastern time.
Yes.
Okay. And then you can just hit the sign up button there. So you talked about the salary negotiation, employment rights, federal hiring is offered on Friday. Now you said that there's an effort to try and schedule them differently. So we had both a LinkedIn profiles and a LinkedIn job search, networking. Oh, here's an example. Here's an example I think that you were talking about, right? So on Monday the 31st, the LinkedIn job search is offered at 10 a.m. Eastern. And then on Tuesday the 1st, it's offered at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. And it's the same workshop at a different time block.
Right.
Right. Okay. Got it. Yeah, that does make it a little easier for us that are 6 time zones away from the East Coast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And we
that's great.
even do them on Saturdays for those who, can't do lunchtime or
I do see
after
that.
work.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. That's terrific. And it's really easy. I guess you just select, and then it takes you to a login screen. Wow. And then that's it. And it'll send you like an email or a reminder, and then you just jump in the class when it's offered.
Yes. So as soon as you sign up, it will send you an email that you've successfully signed up. And then a week out from the workshop, it will send you a reminder, hey, remember you signed up for this. And then 24 hours before the workshop, I send you an email just as another reminder, because people, forget, they have busy schedules. And the link is in all of those emails. So if you miss one, the link is in all of them.
Okay.
And it does take place on WebEx meetings, which a lot of people aren't as familiar with. And thank goodness we're on meetings now and not training anymore. Meetings is a lot like Zoom. It looks like Zoom. It has the same functionality. You can do it from a tablet. You can do it from your phone, your desktop. So it's very versatile. We have some people who do it from their phone. So when they're driving, they can listen to it. You can't always watch. So you can really make this work for whatever schedule you have going on.
Oh, terrific. Easy peasy. Yeah. I've actually attended a couple of the workshops just for, full disclosure, and I found them very helpful. I realized that everyone comes to these workshops with different levels of experience and different, not just levels of experience, but different experiences. And your facilitators were really wonderful about kind of harvesting all of that information and being able to kind of synthesize. I think I took one on, I'm not sure if it was just exploring resume building, or maybe it was maybe it was about the job interview process or something.
And you had Natasha?
Yes, I did. Really wonderful. It was fun. It was good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Johnny,
terrific.
you've been in a workshop, haven't you? Have you been in a Yes, yeah. I recognize your names.
We can't get off the web, can we? That's a good thing.
I'm always there lurking in the background.
Yes, it's the most important. It's one of the most important pieces. And I know for me, when I retired from the military, the TAPS class, the only thing I was really concerned about was, just for me, was resume building, writing a resume. I didn't know how to translate my military career into civilian terms, and I've been doing it close to 10 years now. So I understand the importance of it, but me, when I was just first getting out, I didn't want to hear anything else. I'll worry about everything else later, but I need to get a job as soon as I get out. So,
Yeah,
but yes, it's very,
happens to everyone. They don't know where to start, how to translate those skills,
that's right.
how to even put it together.
That's right.
Yes.
Pam, I want to take a moment and highlight this veterans resource guide that you had mentioned here. Can you say a little bit more about what's in this thing? Because it's huge and it's got a
It
lot of good
is.
stuff in it.
It is, which is why we only do it electronically. Plus, we can update all the links. So you can hot link from the topic list that you're on right now
Okay.
directly to a
So
section of whatever you're interested in.
okay, so if I go to the table of contents and let's say I'm interested in colleges and universities, oh, there you go. It takes you right there.
Takes you right there. And those are, some of those are military related colleges, like you might have gone to them when you were in the military. And some are colleges that work with creating apprenticeship programs.
Okay.
So it's a wide, we try to cast a wide and inclusive net, but not so much that you have to dig through a bunch of things to get to what you want. Using that, hot button, it's easy to go to the section that you want and then just peruse the section. And some things are listed 2 or 3 times within there
Right.
based
Right.
on the topic, so you don't miss them.
I mean, it's a tremendous resource. You definitely, I would encourage our service members and our veterans to spend some time looking through this. I mean, if you've got a home-based business or like you said, internships, I'm looking at links here on networking and even overseas employment resources, and so on and so forth. So a really wonderful guide. Thank you. And complete with links, and that are,
Exactly.
and you said that these are all vetted by the Department of Labor as well.
Yes, they are. They're all ones that we use within our curriculum, within some line of our curriculum. So it's either in our TAP workshops, which are that basic employment fundamentals and employment workshop. We also do a 2-day, and we do a career and credential exploration workshop, also a 2-day. And then we have all of our off-base transition training topics, and we have our transition employment assistance for military spouses teams workshop. So they're all cited within our curriculum somewhere.
Right.
Or they're actually a partner in our employment navigator and partnership pilot.
And actually, that's an area that we really haven't touched on a whole lot, is the inclusion of spouses into these programs too. So for both of you, talk about about the programs that can also involve our military spouses as well. Because obviously, Stephanie, many of these are virtual workshops. Anybody can sign on to them, including our spouses and dependents.
Yeah. Well, they can come to our workshops. Yes, absolutely. It's open to spouses, but the spouses do have their own dedicated workshops, which is teams. And you will see that on this website as well. Transition Employment Assistance for Military Spouses. It's the second option on the left there under TAP e-learning. Those workshops are geared specifically to a spouse, transitioning location to location for spouses, how to have cross careers that you can take anywhere with you. If you have certifications in states or you have licenses in states, how do you transfer those to other states? So as you know, I mean, transitioning military and then veterans, they have different needs than a spouse may have. So while they can come to our workshops, absolutely, they'll get a lot out of them. But these workshops are geared specifically to their needs. And they do have a few different ones than we have. If you look at their website, theirs are about the same as ours. They have the marketing, they have federal hiring, they have the resume piece, they have the LinkedIn piece. But you notice that they have an entrepreneurship workshop, they have flexible jobs workshop, and then they have a credentialing workshop. And those are specifically their needs during a PCS move, which I'm very familiar with. We're getting ready to do that again here. My husband did not decide to retire. So we're getting ready to PCS myself. So I know a little bit about that. So that's the difference between the teams workshops and the OBTT. But we welcome them today. We actually had 2 spouses in our workshop. The teams, I would say, don't take place as often as OBTT. They do teams on some of the bases, and they do a virtual piece. But for OBTT, it's a little bit easier to get into our workshops. And I do want to backtrack just a little bit on the OBTT workshops. If you notice on our webpage, you brought up starting a business, or if you're a business owner, we have the entrepreneurship link in there that takes you directly to the Boots to Business website where you can take those workshops. Those are amazing workshops coming from owning a business. At one time in my life, take the workshops, please. It's not as easy as people think it is to own a business. So every tool that you have available to you, use it.
I would agree with that. I actually, within the last year, took some of the Boots to Business workshop classes and found them very invaluable. At some future point, I'll be starting a farm. I have
Nice.
some land on one of the neighbor islands that I've inherited, and it's farmland. And so, eventually once our daughter graduates from high school and all of that, and we could relocate, we'll be doing that. But it really got me to thinking about what are the resources available, and how to really begin thinking as an entrepreneur. And you're right, it's not easy because of funding, and you hear, hey, Small Business Administration has loans for veterans, and which is all true, but there are catches to them. You
That's
still need
right.
a business plan. You still need A, B, and C, and to get your mind wrapped around, okay, what's my business plan? Who's my market? And blah, blah, all of those kind of things, which does circle back into the employment sector, because it's saying, who is my market, right? What's my plan? And how do I want to engage? If you're looking for a job or starting a job search, I mean, it's very much, the skill set's kind of similar in a sense that you are marketing yourself. You are the product that you are trying to market to a potential employer, whether it be your skills, both soft and hard, or and to evaluate things like whether or not your values fit with the values of the company. It's your opportunity to interview them too.
Yes.
I was at a workshop.
Never leave the question, do you have questions for us, on the table. Never say no.
Right.
Always say yes. Interview them.
Yeah. Great.
As an entrepreneur,
go ahead, Johnny.
When I retired from the military, I had a business for about 4 years, and it was a similar. I wish I would have known this before then, but I didn't. But it was basically just, we needed a loan to expand our business, and I say only, but I say it was only about 120K, and we didn't meet that 3-year requirement. Most banks are wanting that 3-year in business with proof of financials, everything. But as soon as we hit that 3-year red tape, if you will, that's when all the doors opened up. And then people that said no before, I'm like, well, you told me no before. So I think it'd be good. I wish I had this before. So I really do. But there's a lot of stuff there's a lot of information, there's a lot of red tape. And if I would have done this ahead of time, I would have known that. But
Right.
beautiful information. So, but I appreciate, we all appreciate the information that you all provide for the veterans and everything that you do for the veterans and their family members too, because you can't forget the family members. I wouldn't be anywhere I am today without my spouse. So,
Right.
Absolutely.
I do like that the SBA has the follow-on workshops as well. So they've added on, they have the initial 2, and now they have 2 more. You brought up income. They have a workshop to teach you how to manage your income, how to expand. And then they have a follow-on workshop once you get up and going. And that 3-year mark is important because they say that that's when you're either make or break. You should be coming out of the red on that 3-year mark. And so they tell you to circle back around with them at that 3-year mark and do the follow-on. Check yourself. Or, you know, is there anything that you need to tweak in your plan to expect to keep going, you know?
yeah, most businesses, I don't know the number. I'm not going to quote it, but 3 to 5 years, most businesses fail.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't reevaluate at that 3-year mark and see, you know, do we need to do something wrong? Some just keep trudging on like, yeah.
Are there other programs or things that you guys wish to highlight for us as we draw this this episode to a close? We'd like to certainly give you both the last word here, if you will. But if there's something you'd like to really kind of foot stomp and highlight as we close out.
I'm going to let Pam talk a little bit about the Employment Navigator and Partnership Pilot.
Yes.
She did touch on that for a moment.
Sure. So Employment Navigator and Partnership Pilot, it really is an addition to our TAP curriculum. We have employment navigators who provide very specific one-on-one assistance to transitioning service members and spouses who are interested in that 101. So it extends what TAP can do instead of just being, you know, the 1 day plus 2 days of classes. They will work with a transitioning service member or a spouse until they transition. So they provide, you know, resume review, they do some skills matching, they do interest inventory testing, you know, all those general things that we talk about in TAP, but not the hands-on. They do the hands-on. And then they also can refer you to entities that can assist you further, such as, you know, with digital matching or apprenticeships, if you're interested in certain kinds of apprenticeships. We have just many types of organizations that provide services to transitioning service members and spouses that is entirely free. And so we link you up with those service providers based on your needs and your goals for employment. So that's our Employment Navigator and Partnership Pilot in a nutshell. Right now, we're on 29 different installations throughout the world. We have these employment navigators right there to provide one-on-one assistance. There's the information right there on that web page you just pulled up. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been, we just began the pilot in April of 2021, and we've now had over, I want to say we're approaching 17,000 clients served so far. And we're on the back end of this, we provide services up until you transition, and then we connect you with other non-governmental organizations that can assist you after that. And then we also look at data that's available on wages to see whether what we assisted with or what the organization assisted with helped you get a job. That's not individual information, but it is aggregate information. We're quite proud of it so far. We're just starting to get that back end information. We can work with service members who are transitioning 1 year prior to separation or up to 2 years prior to retirement. Same with spouses. And we're really excited. It's kind of finally getting off ground. We started at 13 installations and we're at 29, and there's, I think, 4 more on the horizon.
One of the how far in advance can a service member begin to engage with some of these programs? Because, again, for our Guard and Reserve folks, because many times they're coming on and off orders, or they're coming on and off mobilization. Sometimes that qualifies them to, go through a TAP program, and other times it doesn't. As I said in the intro, a lot of times our interaction with the transition assistance program that's offered is when we're separating or retiring, right?
Right.
And many times I have service members that come to me and go, yeah, I'm getting ready, to separate from the military. They gave me the out processing checklist and your name's on it, right? So they don't necessarily know that 6 months prior to this, they could have begun something, right, to help them ease this transition. And so I guess
exactly.
and that's an organizational issue, and that's part of the reason why I think we have jobs, is to help promote these programs. But when can service members when can they start interacting with, I mean, the OBTT program, they could kind of do that now, I get that, but we're talking kind of some of these other wonderful employment programs.
Right. So like with the Employment Navigator and Partnership Pilot, let's call it ENPP. It's so much easier. With that program, you can interact as soon as you know you're transitioning from the military. So, and really, I mean, I had a couple of deployments. I served in the Navy, I served in the Army National Guard and the Army Reserve. And so I went through a couple of deployments, and when you're coming back from overseas, you're really not thinking about work so much. Just like when you're in that transition focus time, you're really not thinking about, oh, I'm going to have to work eventually. But it does come up. And so as long as you're still on orders, right? Because reservists, when you transition from, let's say you've gone on a year deployment, usually have 90 days or so, 60 to 90 days that you have once you return home. You can hook up with the Employment Navigator and Partnership Pilot during that time if it's on an installation that's close to you, because you're considered active duty at that point.
Right.
And then you can connect with those organizations, those non-government entities who can help you after you are no longer on orders. And that's, as long as you meet their criteria, which a lot of times they will help until they work with you for you to find employment.
Oh, terrific. Thank you, Pam.
Certainly.
We are here to assist you. Please reach out. Any questions that you have, you can contact me by clicking the link on virtual. It comes right directly to me. If you have any questions, you want more information, I'm here to answer any questions.
Well, we certainly do appreciate it. Thank you again, Stephanie and Pam, to talk about and highlight some of the employment and training programs that are available to our service members. Again, we'll post the links in the description, and invite you to check out the OBTT website, as well as many of the other links that are there on the Veterans Employment and Training Service website through the Department of Labor. Certainly wonderful and invaluable programs. I want to thank you both for taking time out of your day to be with us, and wish you a wonderful afternoon and evening, or wherever it is you are.
Oh, thank you, Daniel and Johnny, for having us.
Yes, thank you so much.
It's our pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a motivated Wednesday.
Yes. Happy Hump Day.
All right.